If you told me to go and start another career tomorrow, a real one in a different industry starting next week, I honestly wouldn't know how to do it, what to do, or where to even start. And I mean that. After 20 years as a lawyer, I'm good at it. People look to me for advice and guidance. And if you took that away from me and said, go on then, go and do something else, I'd be standing there with no idea where to even start. Even with all that experience, I'd still be using AI to write a CV like everyone else. It's an interesting paradox that being a specialist in one thing makes you good at that one thing. Take a step outside of it, though, and you're starting from scratch, just like everyone else. If you're close to leaving your career, the money's nearly there, you've started picturing yourself actually walking away from it, that's the bit that's waiting for you, the morning after you go. When the one thing you were the best at is gone, and whatever you pick up next, you're going to be bad at it for a while. So that's today. Can you handle being a beginner again, especially when no one's making you do it, when you're choosing it? You've built the career, you're building the portfolio, you're close to freedom. So what now? Welcome to Life After Enough, money, meaning, and the life you design when work becomes optional. I'm Nick. I'm racing towards early retirement and figuring out who I become when the job no longer dictates what I do with my time. Let's get into it. Now, if you've been listening to this show for a while and remember anything about me, you're already ahead of me here saying, hang on, you did leave once before. You did go and do something else. So you survived it. What's the problem? Well, fair, I did. That first time I exited law, I'd had enough of it. I walked out and I retrained, did the whole follow your passion thing, and started an adventure fitness company. And I made an absolute hash of it. I've realized something since then that I couldn't see at the time, and it's the whole point of the episode today. I think I cheated. If I'd been serious about it and not just secretly scared, I'd have gone and got a job at an established gym and cut my teeth for a couple of years as a personal trainer, learn the trade properly from people who knew far more than me, being the junior again, and help my ego adjust to being the one who knows the least in the room. I didn't do that. And if I'm honest about why, I felt it was probably going to be a step down. I was the big shot lawyer. The idea of standing in some junior slot on the gym floor while someone half my age and 3 years in told me I was doing it wrong, no chance. Being a lawyer had handed me this daft, untested confidence that I'd be good at whatever I touched. So instead of learning the thing, I built my own thing, made myself the boss from day one, never had to be bad in front of anyone, stayed the expert, just in my new gym kit instead of my suit. The part that still kind of stings with that chapter is that all of the novice PTs I trained with who followed the better path, grinded away and slowly got good at their new trade, they will all now be in the position I wanted to be in when I launched the adventure fitness business. They will now all be experts in that new craft. I skipped all that to protect my pride and ego and failed anyway. The bit that gives the whole game away is this. The thought of training my friends at a commercial gym on someone else's payroll, that kind of made my skin crawl. But the thought of training those exact same people through my own business with my name on the door, I'd have jumped at it. It's an identical job. The only thing I couldn't stomach was doing it from the bottom instead of the top. That's the move I want you to watch for in yourself. You go and find the version of the new thing where you're already in charge. You don't walk into the room where you're the worst one at it. Where this is still relevant is the point at which it stops being one daft decision about a gym and turns into the shape of my whole life. Because that move, go and find the version where I'm already in charge, never walk into the room where I'm the worst, I didn't make it once. I've made it for 20 years. Every choice that looks like ambition on paper was also quietly a way to make sure I'd never have to be the beginner again. Think about what a CV actually is. It looks like a list of things you're proud of. It's also a list of rooms you've made sure you're never going to be the worst person in. 20 years of getting good at one thing is 20 years of never being bad at anything, which is 20 years of hiding. The thing I'm proudest of is the realization now of how frightened I've been. And it goes back further than the gym. Think about the career progression itself, for a lawyer anyway. School, then the right university, then training contract at a big firm, and then a newly qualified position. Promotions, lateral moves, then the seat I'm in now. Every rung looks like progress. And every rung was also one more step away from ever having to be the beginner again. I just wasn't getting better, I was getting safer, building the walls a little bit higher. Taking a step back, however, it worked. Being good at something which was hard for long enough gives you a certain confidence. You walk into a problem that should scare you, and underneath the nerves, there's ground that holds, and you know what to do. There's another interesting angle as well. Most of us have got a voice somewhere that says we got lucky. We're about to be found out. It's the imposter syndrome voice. Being right in the room over and over keeps that voice quiet. Every year you're good is another year of evidence against it. And it's worth asking why that voice is even there in the first place. On paper, it makes no sense. You've got the track record by now, the years behind you working. By any objective measure, you're the real thing. And still, somewhere underneath, you're braced to be found out. I think that's because, for a lot of us, being good was never just about the work. It's how we earned the right to be there at all. The way we made ourselves feel safe. If you're capable, you deserve your seat. If you're capable, no one gets to question whether you should be in the room. So being good stopped being a skill and turned into the thing that lets you feel okay taking up space at all. And that's the trap inside the trap. When being okay is built on being good, being bad at something new feels like the floor going out from under you, like the imposter voice was finally right. That's why losing the confidence is so frightening. It's been keeping one question from ever having to be asked out loud. Do I actually deserve to be here? So step out of that into something you're genuinely bad at, and two things happen at once. The confidence goes, and the imposter voice gets loud again. Quick one before we continue. I send a weekly email every Monday morning that goes deeper than the podcast. It's not a recap, it's a separate idea, usually something more personal, plus a question to sit with for the week. It's free, it's one email, and you can sign up at lifeafterenough.com. Link is in the show notes. Okay, back to it. So let me turn this around and focus on you. You've run the numbers, the spreadsheet says you can go. Maybe not tomorrow, but maybe you can see the date from here. Your money pillar of enough is strong. And yet you don't move. You find a reason to stay. Classic one more year rationale. The market's wobbly or just one more year bonus. There's always a sensible sounding reason, and you've used most of them by now. Everyone in this world talks about one lock on that exit door. It's usually the money. The golden handcuffs, the income you've outgrown the need for and still can't make yourself walk away from. That's real, and I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But it's not the only lock on the door. And for a lot of people who already have enough, it's not even the one that's actually holding the door shut. There's a second lock. You can't leave the thing you're brilliant at, because the moment you do, you're a beginner again, and you've spent your entire adult life making sure that never happens. This is what I'm calling the competence trap, and here's why it grips so hard for people like us in particular. Most people walk through life with a spread of identities. They're a parent, a friend, the one who runs the Tuesday five-a-side kids club. So when they're bad at something new, it costs them one card out of a full deck. They can carry it. You didn't build a deck. You built one enormous card. All of those years you fed the competence pillar and let the rest go quiet. The friendships, the hobbies, the version of you that exists outside of work. Your money pillar of enough is strong, fine. But you poured that same single-mindedness into being good at the job and starved nearly everything else. So being a beginner doesn't cost you one card off the top of a deck. It puts the only card you've got at risk. That's the real fear sitting underneath all of the others. You've got nothing else left to be. It's a bit quieter than the money trap, but I think it's stronger because the money you can argue with. You can look at a number and know in your head if that's enough or not. You can't argue your way out of a feeling of being bad at something. It sits in your stomach and logic doesn't really reach there. And there's a reason why logic doesn't reach it. When you're bad at something, you don't just feel bad. You go after yourself for it. 20 years of high standards doesn't switch off the day you try something new. It turns inwards and starts prosecuting. Most people fumble a new skill and think, fair enough, I'm new at this. You think, what is wrong with me? So that feeling in your stomach is mostly the sound of you turning on yourself, which means the real work here, before any of the rest of it, is learning to be bad at something and not freaking out, to let the beginner version of you off the hook the way you'd let anyone else off the hook. That's the actual skill here. It sounds a little bit soft, but it's the hardest part of all of this, and nothing else moves until you've got it dialed in. See if this resonates with you or not. I think it's quite an interesting take. In your career, you're the expert. The confidence holds. The imposter voice stays quiet. You know the feeling. Someone half your level knocks on your door with a problem that's been wrecking their week, and you've half solved it before they finish the first sentence. There's a little hit in that. Quiet, almost invisible, but it's there every single day. The steady proof that you're the one who knows. It's a kind of drug. And nobody walks away from a daily hit of feeling capable to go and feel like an idiot instead. But it goes deeper than the hit. Staying good is also how you keep the imposter voice gagged. The day you're properly bad at something is the day it finally gets to say, told you so. So you stay for another year, and the question never gets asked. That's the competence trap doing its most insidious work. So you stay. You stopped loving the actual work a while ago, but this was never really about the work. Out there, on day one of anything new, you'd be the worst person in the room, and the confidence would be gone, and you'd rather not, thank you very much. So you tell yourself you'll go when you're ready. That's the cleverest part of the trap, because ready is never coming. Think about it. Ready would mean feeling calm about walking into something you're bad at. And you've spent 20 years or so making sure you never have to feel that again. So you're waiting for a feeling the whole structure of your life is built to prevent. You'll be ready, you keep saying, but that feeling doesn't arrive on its own. You decide it while you're still scared, or you don't decide it at all. And in all of this, you just dress it up because no one wants to say the real reason out loud. You tell yourself you're being responsible, doing right by everyone. There's even a version where leaving feels like throwing away everything that got you here, the whole career and all of that effort. But underneath all of that, a lot of the time, it's something much smaller and a lot more embarrassing. You just don't want to be bad at things anymore. So you stay where you're good. And you call it being sensible. Now here's the part my own brain can't make sense of. I'm not being pushed out. There's no redundancy, no health scare forcing my hand. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing to walk out of the one place where I'm the expert and go and be bad at things on purpose. By every single measure I've ever used to run my life, that sounds a bit counterintuitive. That's self-sabotage. You do not take a person who's spent 20 years climbing to the top of a hard thing and have them volunteer to be the worst one in the room again. My whole life has been about getting good. Choosing to be bad, deliberately, with my eyes open, is the most off-brand thing I could possibly do. Some sensible part of my brain is genuinely convinced I'm wrecking my own life. And maybe it's right. But I want to give you another perspective, which I actually think is the correct frame. Here's the question I can't get away from. After 20 years, I honestly don't know how much of what I'm good at is me and how much is the role itself. The employer, the title, the team around me, everything the seat hands you for free. Take all of that away, and what's actually left? Am I actually good, or have I just been standing in a spot that makes anyone in that spot looks good? I've watched it happen to other people. Someone walks out of a job that made them look unstoppable, and a year on, away from the scaffolding that was holding it all up, you can see how much of it was the scaffolding. Not all of it, but more than they'd have liked. And the only honest way to find out how much of mine is actually mine is to take the scaffolding down and see what's standing on its own. And there's only one way to do that. You can't find it from inside the hiding place. You can't think your way to the answer or wait for it to arrive. You have to step out of it consciously into something where none of the scaffolding is holding you up and be properly, embarrassingly bad at it for a while, and then look and see what's left. See whether there's a person in there who can learn, who can be rubbish at something for a while and come out the far side actually good at a new thing, on their own steam this time, or not. That's what being a beginner again actually is. It's the first honest test I've had in 20 years of whether I was ever any good, or whether I was just very, very well hidden. The strange thing, the bit I didn't expect, is that some part of me is hungry for it. A different part of me from the scared one. The part that's sick of standing on a floor I didn't build, being right about the things it stopped caring about a few years ago. That part wants to know the answer, even if it is ugly, especially if it is ugly. And I'm not going to be quiet about it. I'm going to be a beginner in public, in front of you on this very channel. People who've ever known me as the competent one are going to watch me be genuinely rubbish at a few things for a while. And a year ago, the thought of that would have made me feel a bit queasy. Now, I think it might be the most useful thing I do, letting you watch someone who's good at one thing be bad at another and not die of it. So no, I don't think I'm sabotaging myself. I think I'm finally about to test myself in ways I don't even know right now. And the honest truth is that I'll have no idea if I'll pass the test. Quick pause. If this episode is sparking something for you, hit follow so you don't miss what's coming next. Feel free to share it with someone who'd love it too. It really helps the show to grow. So I'll hand you the version of this that's yours, not mine. You're good at something, probably very good at something. You wouldn't be the sort of person who listens to this show if you weren't. So here's some homework for this week if you'd like some. How much of your life have you arranged so that you never have to be bad at anything? Which rooms have you stayed out of? Maybe it's a language you've wanted to learn for a decade and never started, because being a stumbling adult feels humiliating. Maybe it's the work you genuinely love to do, but you won't try, because you're senior now, and senior people don't start at the bottom. Take the language one. You've probably said it for years. I'd love to speak Italian, or French, or whatever it is. And you've never started. And here's the honest reason you haven't. The first month of any new language is just about being bad out loud, clumsy with broken sentences to a hopefully patient teacher, while you feel about 6 years old. You find the time for the things you're already good at. You never quite find it for that. For someone who's used to being the most articulate person in the room, being 6 years old again isn't a small thing. So here's the exercise for this week. Get a piece of paper and write down all of the things you've always said you'd love to try and never have. The language, the instrument, the business idea, the sport you gave up on at age 15, whatever's on your list. Then go down it one by one and just ask yourself an honest question. Why haven't I started? Push past the excuse you'd give at a dinner party and get to the real reason. And just watch how often, underneath everything, the answer is the same. I'd be bad at it. People would see me struggle. If that's the reason, then you've just found out one of your hiding places. And now you know it's there, you get to decide whether you keep living inside it or not. And then the bigger one, the one I'm asking myself this year for real. If you stepped out of the thing you're brilliant at, with no title, no seat doing half the work for you, and you were genuinely bad at something new for a good amount of time, could you hack it? Is there a you in there who could be a beginner and come through it smiling? Because the other side of it, the part we don't say out loud, you can keep the floor and the daily hit of being the one who knows. You can stay where you're good for the rest of your life. Plenty of people do. And you'll be safe and competent, and you'll never once find out who you might have been if you let yourself be bad at something new. That's the price of the hiding place. It's just paid so slowly, you don't even notice you're paying it until it's too late. I don't have my answer yet, That's the honest position. I'm going to find mine out the hard way in public over the next year with all of you watching. But I've started to think the question matters more than the answer. Because the moment you can look at your own competence and see the wall as well as the achievement, something loosens and it stops running you. The actual shift in all of this, if you want one thing to take away, is that somewhere along the way, you stopped having a skill and it started being it. I'm good at my job turned into I'm good, full stop. And then the moment that happened, being bad at anything started to feel like being a bad person, like being erased. But that was always a trick of the wiring. Your competence is a thing you can do. It's not the whole of who you are, and it never was. The strange gift of being a beginner again is that it proves it. You go and be genuinely terrible at something new, and you don't dissolve. You're still here, still you, a bit embarrassed, sure, but fundamentally fine, which means the okayness was never coming from being good. It just felt like it was for 20 years. You'll always be a bit good at the thing you were always good at. That doesn't go anywhere, but it stops being the excuse. It goes back to being just a thing you can do, and you get a bit more of yourself back. And there's something waiting on the other side of the fear that nobody mentions. Being a beginner is one of the only places curiosity still lives. Mastery is comfortable, but it's gone a bit dead. You've done it all before. You can see the end of every sentence before anyone finishes it. The first time you're properly bad at something new, clumsy, a bit lost, genuinely trying, you'll feel something you probably haven't felt in years. Awake and alive. Hold on to that, because it's the whole reason any of this is worth doing. You don't have to quit anything to start. You just have to be willing once to be properly bad at something on purpose, and then just look at who's still standing. 2 quick things before I go. If any of that landed a bit too close to the bone, if you clocked how much of your life you've built around never being the worst person in the room, I made something that might help you see where you actually stand. It's called the Freedom Score. It's a 2-minute quiz across the 5 pillars of enough that help you actually decide whether you're ready to walk away from your career or not. The identity, the thing we've been picking at today, is one of them. I'll tell you plainly where you're solid and where you're hiding. There's a link in the show notes. Start there. And if you'd like one of these things landing in your inbox every Monday, one idea with no pitch, just whatever I'm actually wrestling with as I count down to my exit, that's Speak Monday. Again, same place. You can sign up in the show notes. That's me for this week. Thanks for sitting with something that doesn't have a tidy ending. See you next time. Thanks for listening to Life After Enough, a podcast about money, meaning, and the life you design when work becomes optional. If this episode made you rethink your future, share it with someone who's starting to question the script too. You can follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Nick, and I'll see you next week as we keep building a life that's truly ours.